As the cliche goes, April showers bring May flowers. But usually what comes after is the heat and dryness of summer. Hello again, Essay here. And before the hot weather of the holiday shows up, you should indulge in my new short story, The White Cat, a free exclusive on Substack. The links are down below in description. Join Margot Thompson, a beautiful stage actress and recent widow who finds salvation in the form of a white cat during a night of terror. While checking out my oddball thriller, remember that my Glitch series is still available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The links are down below in the description. While you'll find my peculiar story about a white pussy entertaining, that doesn't mean I'm out of ideas. I still have more stories coming down the pike, so as long as I don't run into any mishaps, you'll see those stories as well. Now let's get back to the video. Hello again, Essay here. Long ago in the past, and when I mean long ago, I mean like back during caveman times, people used to live in communal settings. You would have, Fred Flintstone, Wilma, and Pebbles all living in the same cave. And of course you also have Barney Rubble and Betty living in the same cave as well. I mean, that's just the way things were. And indeed, even during the Neolithic era, during the time when humans left the caves and start actually building primitive, huts and whatnot, they still continued communal living. And in fact, I remember reading that these refer to them as longhouses, because you would usually have like multiple members of the same family, or in some cases the same clan, living in one gigantic communal hut. And indeed, in places like, say, New Guinea, they still have that. And indeed, I remember reading history books about during the medieval times, those early centuries right after the Roman collapse. You have places in Europe, France, Germany, even in England, Saxon England, where the peasants, not talking about the lords in their castles, no, the peasants would live in these communal structures where you would have several members of a single family in a single living space. And then you say where they use the bathroom at, you usually would shit in the bucket, or sometimes they'll go out and shit in the woods. I mean, that's just the way things were. But then, of course, as time moved on, at least in Europe anyway, people started, living in proper houses, and of course with proper toilets. And of course, anyone who's paying attention knows that eventually people don't want to be interrupted when they're sitting on the pot, so then you put a door in the toilet. And indeed, anyone goes to any house anywhere in the country, indeed in the world, usually the bathroom has a door on it, and that includes public toilets as well. But then something funny happened. They started making these what they call single-sex toilets. I actually seen them. Now, of course, most of these places are pretty easy to spot, because you'll see a single door and it has like the little generic shape of a man, the shape of a woman on the same door. But those things, not anyone can just walk in there and use it. Usually it has a lock on the inside, and when someone goes in there and they know you're in, someone's in there, because when they lock it, the little occupy sign would appear right above the doorknob, which means you can't get in. So there you go. But apparently, there's some people, progressives, who basically want to end that. In fact, they refer to it as sex segregation. And you say, what? And you say, yeah, and what's your problem? And of course, these progressives say that, oh, we've been desegregating situations for years in society. We should desegregate the sexes. And multiple people say, not so fast, player. Because it's one thing to have desegregation, like, say, in the old school sense, remember Jim Crow? And desegregating men and women's spaces. Because do you really want to walk into a room where a woman got her panties down around her ankles? Unless you're a pervert, of course. Yeah. Because women, they want to have the privacy. Okay? It's just the way things work. Now, of course, yeah, back in long ago, misty past, yeah, most women didn't. But hey, things have changed. But yeah, there was a time period, briefly, primarily in the 19th century, when they would have women's spaces, but it wasn't for toilets. It was for other things, like real hard segregation stuff. Indeed, back in the 19th century, they would have like women's only spaces in restaurants. And you say, what? Really? Yeah. And before you even say the theocracy in Iran, yeah, they have it too. I mean, if you're a woman in Iran, you can't just go on your merry way. You have to go with a male escort. And indeed, in North America in the 19th century, there was a brief period when women weren't allowed to just go off on their own. And therefore, certain hotels and restaurants had women's spaces. Indeed, Virginia Woolf, she wrote a book about that. I think it was called Room for One's Own. But I think it was basically a satire. I think she was criticizing women's only spaces in that venue. But then, of course, after the suffragette movement, they got rid of women's spaces in that aspect. But still, like I said, these so-called progressives, they want to desegregate all spaces, and that's they want to focus on the sexes. Now, I'm about to show you a video from that big boy, Journey from the Quartering. And let's just say this. It focuses primarily on one particular woman's space. And this one woman, let's just say this. She's going to get an eyeful than she ever possibly imagined. Okay? Are you ready? Here we go.
Like Planet Fitness's policy of allowing just about anybody to do whatever they want has already come back again for a huge negative PR campaign. This is after obviously a huge uproar earlier this year where they were allowing biological men to go in whichever space they wished and making all of their female customers, or a large portion of their female customers, feel extremely uncomfortable. Instead of changing their policy like a normal person or a normal company would, Planet Fitness instead quadrupled down on everything and said it's not their fault that you're uncomfortable with it. Deal with it. If you're a woman, you just deal with men in your spaces. Planet Fitness is a perfect example of a company that should be on everybody's avoid list. And by the way, now more Planet Fitness fails. Woman claims that she was bobs in the air at a Planet Fitness locker room, and a biological male employee was there staring at her. She went to the front desk. They brushed it off. Planet Fitness is not safe for women. Girls, stay away. This video has 2 million views. And by the way, I'm going to go through, a lot of people say, oh, the conservative or right wing or, anti-woke outrage mobs don't work. Yeah, right. Ask Bud Light. Planet Fitness themselves admitted that it had a massively negative impact on their sales. Or ask Tractor Supply, which recently, so this stuff works.
Trying to be dramatic, but I'm literally shaking. 3 days a week, I go to the same gym and I change in the locker room, and it's always the same. Him is coming out of the women's restroom, and he looked at me and we made eye contact, and I am not trying to be dramatic, but I did not have a shirt on, I did not have a bra on, and I just feel really violated that he saw me. I go to this gym all the time. I change in the women's locker room, which means I am accepting a risk that other women might see me, and I am okay with that. But I just feel like really yucky that a man saw part of my naked body that I did not want to see my naked body. And I totally embarrassed myself because I couldn't, it was hard for me to like come down. And again, I'm really not trying to be dramatic, but it was hard for me to come down from it. And I just went to the front desk and I was like, that's fucking unacceptable. And I basically went off and cussed this dude out. And then the chick at the front desk, she's like, man, like he was talking to you calmly. I'm like, this is a big fucking deal. And also at this gym, they have a free membership for teenagers all summer. I'm like, what if that had been an underage girl?
Yeah, good
who was
point.
just, I don't know. I think I'm just triggered, but it just really upset me. And it upset me that like they were so nonchalant about it as if it's not a big deal. I think it is a big deal.
Now, I think that we're used to looking at videos like this where somebody's talking about Donald Trump or something like that, and we're like, oh, it's somebody having, it's some, woke person having a meltdown. I don't think that's the case here. I think that this woman felt like genuinely uncomfortable and genuinely taken advantage of and genuinely, accosted in this manner because you're in a location that is supposed to be safe for women. It's not supposed to be like a zoo with a viewing glass for men to be in there to look at you. Okay. By the way, this dude was an employee. And look, I've worked retail. You generally, like there is some scenarios where a man may have to go into a restroom. Maybe they're cleaning it at the end of the night. Well, obviously you close it down. You send a female coworker in there, or you call in there and make sure no one's there, and you close it. Sure, I had to do that stuff at, Walmart and whatever. It's not that big a deal. By the way, women's room, way grosser than the men's room. Just saying, you girls can be gross. Anyway, but this is, again, it's a policy that, probably, this employee knows, oh, now, we don't know if this individual employee perhaps identifies as trans or anything like that. But you look at the comments, Planet Fitness is not safe for women. Stay away. Planet Fitness is not safe for women. The Planet Fitness by my house has free workouts for 14 to 17-year-old people all summer. Know where your kids are. Just as she was violated, Planet Fitness needs to be held accountable. I hope the next time I'm called for jury duty, I'm put on a case suing one of these woke establishments. Yes, okay, it's totally a big deal. How can they think this is okay? She's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, of course, this meme, right? Relax, lady, I'm trans, I think ultimately that's what needs to happen. Like, more women need to speak out about this. More women need to be vulnerable and understand that, like, hey, I understand some people on the internet will say you're being dramatic, but it's kind of a big deal. I guess as like a man, I don't know if I would, I think as a man, it's difficult for me to relate. Maybe it's a power dynamics thing, or maybe it's, like if some woman walked in and like I was dangling out there, like I don't care. But I think that's just men. Men are not vulnerable in that way. There's not like a weird power dynamic there. There's a lot of reason there's not. It's called a peeping Tom, not a peeping Tina. I don't know. But this is like, another perfect example. Look at this. Read the mind-boggling feminist demand for men in women's locker rooms. This was an article that came out yesterday. Are the 1970s feminists okay? In 1972, two women founded what would eventually be founded the National Women's Law Center to fight for the passage of full and transparent Title IX. In particular, they cared about opportunities for women in sports where inequalities, between women and men were most obvious. My, how the time has changed. The NWLC recently filed a brief to defend biological men in women's sports that goes beyond confusing. It's alarming to the point of comedy. NWLC, this feminist organization, seeks to intervene in Riley Gaines versus the NCAA to oppose Riley Gaines and other female athletes who challenged the NCAA's violations of Title IX. The NCAA determined that women's athletes should include biological males, subjecting women to risk of injury and unfair competition, not to mention discomfort from being vulnerable with males walking around, this, that, and the other thing. Seems like a perfectly pro-woman lawsuit, so what's the NWLC got to say about it? Well, apparently a lot. NWLC starts by redefining women. NWLC advocates for inclusive policies that allow all women, including biological men, to participate fully in society, including sports. Sanitizing language is intended to make the court forget what we're talking about: biological men in women's spaces. Tragically, this move blurs why women in a legally distinct category, women are afforded legal protections based on that fact, because our biology is written by women, creates unique hardship, as in we can get pregnant, taking us out of the workplace while we puke, get enormous, and ultimately recover and care for our children. We are generally smaller and weaker, subjecting us to power dynamic issues. When the NWLC indicates, quote, women has no basis in biology, it eliminates the very reason why women are legally protected. The NWLC says that the erasure of this is a good thing. Biological men being included helps all women and girls learn free from stereotypes and ensure all women and girls can enjoy lifelong benefits of playing school sports. In plain English, the NWLC is arguing that biological men should be allowed to depart from gender stereotype by being feminine and apparently playing women's sports. Why? Because that frees women to depart from gender stereotypes and presumably work in manly fields or shrug off motherhood. I mean, it also says, finally, if we're talking about lifelong benefits for women, women benefit from a women's only sports league. You know what I mean? Like, NWLC goes on to bemoan the egregious practice of body policing to protect women's sports, including collecting pseudo-scientific medical documents, i.e. birth certificates. Black and brown women and girls who play school sports are particularly high risk of harm under these policies because black and brown women are often viewed as non-conform. What? Like, this is what happened. This is what happens when, when feminism has won and there's still money to be made from the grift. I think that's a big part of it. Feminism has done just fine. There's not any rights that women don't have that men have. Okay. I think that that's very fair and reasonable. And now there's still money to be made. So they move to this, which is absolutely obscene, absurd, ridiculous, and quite frankly, offensive.
All right, you saw that. Now, of course, that woman who was having a freak out at the damn Planet Fitness, yeah. Now, if she had been paying attention to current events, she would have known that if you're a woman going to that damn gym, you're going to see a bunch of guys in there. And of course, some of you saying, oh, but they're trannies. Are they? Are they? Or are they just a bunch of Dylan Mulvaney types who are just pretending to be a woman? That way they can go into the women's bathroom and take their dong out and say, ooh, look at this. Yeah, let's not pretend. There are perverts out there. Weirdos who get off on going into the women's bathroom just to rile the women up. And then you have some really dangerous perverts who will go into the women's bathroom, and then when the woman thinks she's by herself, will jump into the stall with her and do something naughty. Yeah. Now, of course, unfortunately for that poor woman in that big boy's video, she clearly wasn't been paying attention, because the people at Planet Fitness, they basically had desegregated their male and female spaces. So if you're a woman that goes to Planet Fitness, don't be surprised you see a bunch of guys in the damn bathroom with you. And not just in the bathroom, also in the locker rooms and in the showers. Okay? Are we clear now? Now, of course, some of you women say, well, just go to another gym. Yeah. Because right now, apparently this policy at Planet Fitness has been going on for a while. And then you say, why didn't they alert their customers? I don't know. Maybe they want to give them a little surprise. But yeah, according to multiple sources, apparently this policy had been on the books at Planet Fitness, I think, since 2014. And you say, my God, that's been a whole decade. And women are just noticing now? Well, that's just it. Apparently, when they changed the policy at Planet Fitness, they didn't make a public statement. They didn't go like on a 6 o'clock news and make a post and say, from now on, all bathrooms and locker rooms at Planet, we were gender neutral. No, they didn't. So then you say, why did they go do something like that and then didn't inform the public of the change in policy? Don't know. But now they're trying to make excuses saying, oh, we didn't really change the policy, we just changed it for trans people. Excuse me, you're not seeing weirdos who were born a woman and now believe they're a man going into the man's bathroom at Planet Fitness. It's only the inverse of that. Okay, are we clear? And then, of course, at that point, and let's not pretend, 99% of these people are not like Jenner. Bruce Jenner. And, of course, you say, yeah, he calls himself Caitlyn. Now, I know, but hey, I saw Jenner at the 1976 Olympics winning all those gold medals. And I also saw him on the Wheaties box. And you know what? I'm calling him Bruce, okay? So sue me. But yeah, most of these people who claim that they're trans aren't. I mean, there's multiple stories of women going into the damn locker rooms, or worse, in the showers at the damn Planet Fitness, and see some guy looking like Bluto from the Popeye comics in the women's shower. We're talking big 6'6", 350 pounds, got a big beard, and of course, sitting there saying, "Oh, my name is Sally." Dude, you don't look like no Sally to me. Okay, are we clear? Yeah. No joke. So then what are these women going to do about it? Well, technically you could sue the company, but you got to remember, we're not dealing with some public toilet inside of a damn, like inside of a damn public library, some stuff like that. You're talking about private business. Now, if a private business wants to have gender neutral showers and bathrooms, that technically they can do that. But I think they should inform their customers. Just saying. Now, of course, what does this mean for the future? Well, it may not mean anything. It means what's going on right now at Planet Fitness could very well stop at Planet Fitness. But of course, the problem with these progressives is that they usually don't stop with one business or one institution. They like to go off the cliff, along with the lemmings. So let's not pretend that probably not not too distant future, you're going to see a lot more businesses instituting gender neutral accommodations, and not just bathrooms. You know, we're talking across the board, showers, you name it. Now, of course, women, ordinary women, real women, are probably going to not be happy about that. Because let's not pretend, okay, most women on this planet are not progressives. They're not even liberal, okay? And they definitely ain't leftists. So I think that most women are probably not going to be embracing this gender neutral stuff when it comes to women's spaces, allowing all these big bearded men in there. So yeah, if this thing goes beyond Planet Fitness, you're probably going to see an uproar of the first caliber. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. Well, that's all I gotta say about this Planet Fitness crazy train. That's my opinion.